The elders of Nambara Valley often said that fate did not always arrive with drums and celebration. Sometimes it arrived quietly, barefoot, hungry, and ignored. At the far edge of the valley, where the soil cracked under the sun and the wind carried more dust than hope, lived a boy named Keto. He was an orphan, known not for his name, but for what he lacked. No father's shadow followed him. No mother's voice called him home. His shelter was a broken hut with holes in its roof, and his blanket was the night air itself. Each morning, Keto woke before the village stirred. He listened to the sounds of life around him: roosters crowing, women pounding grain, men laughing over bowls of food he would never taste. His stomach tightened, but his face remained calm. Hunger had long become a companion he no longer argued with. When villagers passed him, their eyes slid away, as though poverty were a sickness that could spread by sight. Children laughed openly. "There goes the orphan," they mocked. "Does hunger still walk with you?" Keto never answered. He lowered his head and continued walking, carrying firewood heavier than his thin arms deserved to bear. Only one person ever truly looked at him: old Mama Sephew, bent with age and nearly blind. When she heard his footsteps, she would call softly, "Come closer, child." Once, as Keto helped her sit in the shade, she touched his face and said, "Your eyes are not empty. They are waiting." Keto did not understand her words, but they stayed with him like an unanswered prayer. That year, the rains delayed their arrival. The earth hardened. Crops wilted. The river shrank into a thin, muddy ribbon. Anxiety spread faster than fire through dry grass. The elders met beneath the great tree, arguing in loud voices. "The ancestors are angry," one said. "We must dig deeper wells," said another. Men were sent into the forest to search for water, but they returned shaking their heads. Each failure deepened fear. Keto, however, noticed what others did not. As he walked barefoot across the land, he felt changes beneath the soil. At night, when the valley slept, he pressed his ear to the ground and listened. Where others heard silence, he heard faint movement, soft, steady, alive. One evening near the old baobab tree, Keto froze. The ground beneath his feet felt cool. He knelt and whispered to himself, "There is water here." Hope surged through him, fragile but real. The next morning, he gathered courage and spoke to the villagers. "I think there is water near the old baobab," he said quietly. Laughter answered him. The chief's advisor scoffed. "Water from an orphan's mouth." Chief Bako waved his hand dismissively. "Go back to your work, boy. Matters of survival are for men of wisdom." Keto stepped back, his face burning. No one noticed the truth standing before them. Chief Bako soon announced a plan of forced digging across the valley. The weakest were ordered to work the hardest. Keto was among them. Day after day, he dug where he knew nothing would be found. The irony was cruel. The one who could save them was being slowly broken by their ignorance. Then the river dried completely. Children cried from thirst. Fights broke out. Fear turned neighbor against neighbor. One night, old Mama Sephew collapsed. Keto held her frail body as she struggled to breathe. She touched his arm weakly and whispered, "Do not bury your gift, even if they bury you." Her hand fell still. Something inside Keto changed. Fear left him. Silence left him. That night, under the pale moon, Keto returned alone to the old baobab tree. He dug with desperate strength, ignoring pain and exhaustion. Hours passed. Suddenly, the ground gave way. Water burst forth, soaking his face and hands. Keto cried out, laughing and sobbing at once. But before he could call the village, guards appeared. "What have you done?" they shouted. They dragged him before Chief Bako at dawn. "You dug without permission," the chief thundered. "You challenge my authority." Keto lifted his head calmly. "I challenge hunger," he said, "and thirst." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Reluctantly, the elders agreed to see the place. When they reached the baobab tree, water flowed freely, glistening under the sun. Silence fell. The villagers stared in disbelief. Shame crept into faces that once mocked the boy. Chief Bako's pride faltered. The power he held slipped away like sand through fingers. The elders spoke firmly. "A leader who silences wisdom leads his people to ruin." Chief Bako was stripped of authority. All eyes turned to Keto. Keto did not celebrate. He did not demand revenge. Instead, he said, "Let no child sleep hungry in Nambara again. Let no voice be ignored because of birth or poverty." The water was shared. The weak were restored. The valley slowly healed. Keto was given land, but more importantly, he was given trust. Years later, when travelers asked how Nambara survived the Great Drought, the people replied, "We listened too late, but not too late." And the elders taught their children, never measure destiny by rags. Never silence the quiet. For sometimes, hope enters the world as an orphan. Every challenge leaves a lesson, and every lesson shapes who we become. If this story spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more meaningful stories.